An emoticon is a metacommunicative pictorial representation of a facial expression which in the absence of body language and prosody serves to draw a receiver's attention to the tenor or temper of a sender's nominal verbal communication, changing and improving its interpretation. It expresses usually by means of punctuation marks a person's feelings or mood and can include numbers and letters, as well. These emoticons are usually flipped sideways. In the most recent years, as social media has become widespread, emoticons have played a significant role in communication through technology. These emoticons offer another range of tone and feeling through texting that portrays specific emotions through facial gestures while in the midst of cyber communication. Origin of the term: the word is a portmanteau word of the English words emotion and icon. In web forums, instant messengers and online games, text emoticons are often automatically replaced with small corresponding images, which came to be called emoticons as well. Emoticons for a smiley face and sad face appear in the first documented use in digital form. Certain complex character combinations can only be accomplished in a double-byte language, giving rise to especially complex forms, sometimes known by their romanized Japanese name of Kormaji. The use of emoticons can be traced back to the 19th century, and they were commonly used in casual and humorous writing. Digital forms of emoticons on the Internet were included in a proposal by Scott Feilman of Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a message on September 19, 1982. History: Antecedents, the National Telegraphic Review and Operator's Guide in April 1857 documented the use of the number 73 in Morse code to express love and kisses. Dodge's Manual in 1908 documented the reintroduction of love and kisses as the number 88. Gajad Hoare and Green comment that both Morse code abbreviations are more succinct than modern abbreviations such as LOL. A New York Times transcript from an Abraham Lincoln speech written in 1862 contains applause and laughter. There is some debate as to whether it is a typo, a legitimate punctuation construct, or an emoticon. In 1862, Victor Hugo wanted to find out how sales of his new book Les Misères copyright Rebels were doing. He sent a telegram to his publisher that consisted of a single character, ? The reply was also a single character, ! This telegram which is sometimes attributed to Oscar Wilde is cited in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's shortest telegram. 4 vertical typographical emoticons were published in 1881 by the U.S. satirical magazine Puck, with the stated intention that the publication's letterpress department thus intended to lay out all the cartoonists that ever walked. In 1912, Ambrose Bierce proposed an improvement in punctuation the snigger point, or note of cachinnation, it is written thus // and presents a smiling mouth. It is to be appended, with the full stop, or exclamation mark as Bierce's later example used, to every jocular or ironical sentence. In a 1936 Harvard Lampoon article, Alan Gregg proposed for smile, for laugh, for frown, for wink, and for intense interest, attention, and incredulity. Note that the symbols are correctly oriented and are not sideways. Emoticons had already come into use in sci-fi fandom in the 1940s, although there seems to have been a lapse in cultural continuity between the communities. The September 1962 issue of MAD magazine published an article titled Typewriter Tunes. The piece, featuring typewriter-generated artwork credited to Royal Portable, was entirely made up of repurposed typography, including a capital letter P having a bigger bust than a capital I, a lowercase b and e discussing their pregnancies, an asterisk on top of a letter to indicate the letter had just come inside from a snowfall, and a classroom of lowercase n's interrupted by a lowercase h raising its hand. 2 additional Typewriter Tunes articles subsequently appeared in Mad, in 1965 and 1987. In 1963 the Smiley Face, a yellow button with 2 black dots representing eyes and an upturned thick curve representing a mouth was created by freelance artist Harvey Ball. It was realized on order of a large insurance company as part of a campaign to bolster the morale of its employees and soon became a big hit. This smiley presumably inspired many later emoticons. The most basic graphic emoticon that depicts this is in fact a small yellow smiley face. In a New York Times interview in April 1969, Alden Whitman asked writer Vladimir Nabokov, "How do you rank yourself among writers and of the immediate past?" Nabokov answered, "I often think there should exist a special typographical sign for a smiley and some sort of concave mark, a supine round bracket, which I would now like to trace in reply to your question." Creation offer and Scott Feilman was the first documented person to use the emoticons, and, with a specific suggestion that they be used to express emotion. The text of his original proposal, posted to the Carnegie Mellon University Computer Science General Board on September 19, 1982, was thought to have been lost, but was recovered 20 years later by Jeff Baird from old backup tapes. September 19, 82 11:44 Scott E. Feilman, from Scott E. Feilman at CMU20C. I proposed that the following character sequence for joke markers. Read it sideways. Actually, it is probably more economical to mark things that are not jokes, given current trends. For this use. Other notable computer scientists who participated in this thread include David Turetsky, Guy Steele, and Jaime Carbonell. Within a few months, it had spread to the ARPANET and Usenet. Many variations on the theme were immediately suggested by Scott and others. Western style. Usually, emoticons in Western style have the eyes on the left, followed by nose and the mouth. The two-character version, which omits the nose, is also very popular. Common Western examples. The most basic emoticons are relatively consistent in form, but each of them can be transformed by being rotated, with or without hyphen. There are also some possible variations to emoticons to get new definitions, like changing a character to express a new feeling, or slightly change the mood of the emoticon. For example, equals sad and equals very sad or weeping. A blush can be expressed as. Others include wink, a grin, D, smug, and tongue out, P for disgust or simply just to stick the tongue out for silliness, such as when blowing a raspberry. An often used combination is also less than 3 for a heart, and /3 for a broken heart. A representation of a cat face can be expressed like this, 3, along with a mustache emoticon, or, D, a broad grin is often shown with crinkled eyes to express further amusement. XD and the addition of further D letters can suggest laughter or extreme amusement, for example XDDDD. There are hundreds of other variations including D for an evil grin or, for anger, which can be, again, used in reverse, for an unhappily angry face, in the shape of D. Equals K for vampire teeth, S for grim face, and P can be used to denote a flirting or joking tone, or may be implying a second meaning in the sentence preceding it. Variation. An equal sign is often used for the eyes in place of the colon, seen as equals, without changing the meaning of the emoticon. In these instances, the hyphen is almost always either omitted or, occasionally, replaced with an O as an equals O. In most circles it has become acceptable to omit the hyphen, whether a colon or an equal sign is used for the eyes, but in some areas of usage people still prefer the larger, more traditional emoticon, or. Similar-looking characters are commonly substituted for one another. For instance, O, and 0 can all be used interchangeably, sometimes for subtly different effect or, in some cases, one type of character may look better in a certain font and therefore be preferred over another. It is also common for the user to replace the rounded brackets used for the mouth with other, similar brackets, such as instead of. Some variants are also more common in certain countries due to keyboard layouts. For example, the smiley equals may occur in Scandinavia, where the keys for equals and are placed right beside each other. However, the variant is without a doubt the dominant one in Scandinavia, making the equals version a rarity. Diacritical marks are sometimes used. The letters A and or can be seen as an emoticon, as the upright version of O and D respectively. Some emoticons may be read right to left instead, and in fact can only be written using standard ASCII keyboard characters this way round. for example D, which refers to being shocked or anxious, opposite to the large grin of D, Japanese style. Users from Japan popularized a style of emoticons that can be understood without tilting one's head to the left. This style arose on ASCII-NET of Japan in 1986. Similar-looking emoticons were used by Byte Information Exchange around the same time. These emoticons are usually found in a format similar to. The asterisks indicate the eyes. The central character, commonly an underscore, the mouth. And the parentheses, the outline of the face. Different emotions such as, are expressed by changing the character representing the eyes, for example T can be used to express crying or sadness. TT may also be used as meaning unimpressed. The emphasis on the eyes is reflected in the common usage of emoticons that use only the eyes, for example. Looks of stress are represented by the likes of while as a generic emoticon for nervousness, the semicolon indicating sweat that occurs during anxiety. Repeating the slash mark can indicate embarrassment by symbolizing blushing. This 3/ method of blushing was eventually adopted by Japanese animators for use in their animations, demonstrating a subtle example of one media following another. Characters like hyphens or periods can replace the underscore. The period is often used for a smaller, cuter mouth or to represent a nose, for example. Alternatively, the mouth nose can be left out entirely, for example, parentheses also can often be replaced with braces, for example. Many times, the parentheses are left out completely, for example. E and or EE. A quotation mark, apostrophe, or semicolon can be added to the emoticon to imply apprehension or embarrassment, in the same way that a sweat drop is used in popular and common Asian animation. Microsoft IME 2000 or later supports the use of both forms of emoticons by enabling Microsoft IME Spoken Language Emotion Dictionary. In IME 2007, it was moved to Emoticons Dictionary. Further variations of emoticons may be produced by combining characters, for example U copyright, I to the first I to the first U paragraph and a paragraph a micron or alpha micron a paragraph. These emoticons can be used also with, instead of, or without the parentheses at all in some of the cases. There is also the backslash, indicating a hooligan or crazed behavior, and thew 3/4 per mil I 1/2 o micron 3/4 your section. Western use of Japanese-style, English-language anime forums adopted those emoticons that could be used with the standard ASCII characters available on Western keyboards. Because of this, they are often called anime-style emoticons in the English-speaking Internet. They have since seen use in more mainstream venues, including online gaming, instant messaging, and other non-anime-related forums. Emoticons such as A, or which include the parentheses, mouth or nose, and arms also are often referred to as Kirby's in reference to their likeness to Nintendo's video game character, Kirby. The parentheses are sometimes dropped when used in the English language context, and the underscore of the mouth may be extended as an intensifier, for the emoticon in question. This emoticon T uses the Eastern style, but incorporates a depiction of the Western middle finger flick-off using AT as the arm, hand, and finger. Also, one of the newer ones, or as such for a vampire, or other mythical beasts with fangs. Mixture of Western and Japanese style, exposure to both Western and Japanese style emoticons or emoji through blogs, instant messaging, and forums featuring a blend of Western and Japanese pop culture, has given rise to emoticons that have an upright viewing format. The parentheses are similarly dropped in the English language context and the emoticons only use alphanumeric characters and the most commonly used English punctuation marks. Emoticons such as O, -3, W, underscore, TT, and V are used to convey mixed emotions that are more difficult to convey with traditional emoticons. Characters are sometimes added to emoticons to convey an anime or manga-styled sweat drop, for example, or, as well as, at, O, and U. The equal sign can also be used for closed, anime-looking eyes, for example, equals 0 equals, equals 3 equals W equals A equals and equals 7 equals. There are also more faces along those lines like O. Using thea as a sweat mark, and the O as a mouth, and the inequality signs as the eyes, it shows stress, or slight confusion. The number of emoticons that can be made are limitless, and all have their own meaning. In Brazil, sometimes combining character are added to emoticons to represent eyebrows, like R squared R cubed, R cubed R squared, a micron O, R to the first U or OA. They can also replace equals or with, for example D, equals D, P, 3 or 3. Two-channel style. The Japanese language is usually encoded using double-byte character codes. As a result, there is a bigger variety of characters that can be used in emoticons, many of which cannot be reproduced in ASCII. Most kanji contain Cyrillic and other foreign letters to create even more complicated expressions analogous to ASCII art's level of complexity. To type such emoticons, the input editor that is used to type Japanese on a user's system is equipped with a dictionary of emoticons, after which the user simply types the Japanese word that represents the desired emoticon to convert the inputs into such complicated emoticons. Such expressions are known as Shift JIS art. Users of 2-channel in particular have developed a wide variety of unique emoticons using characters from various languages, such as Canada, R squared. These were quickly picked up by 4chan and spread to other Western sites soon after. Some have taken on a life of their own and become characters in their own right, like Mona. Korean style. In South Korea, emoticons use Korean Hangul letters, and the Western style is rarely used. The structures of Korean and Japanese emoticons are somewhat similar, but they have some differences. Korean style contains Korean JMO instead of other characters. There are countless number of emoticons that can be formed with such combinations of Korean JMO letters. Consonant Jamosa Aora is the mouth-nose component and A are for the eyes. For example, AAA, AAA, AAA and A. Faces such as A and using quotation marks, and apostrophes are also commonly used combinations. Vowel JMOs such as A depict a crying face. Example, an OAA, AA and E permil. Sometimes a comma or an underscore is added, and the two character sets can be mixed together, as in AAA, AAA, AAA and OAA. Also, semicolons and carets are commonly used in Korean emoticons. Semicolons mean sweating. If they are used with A or, they depict a bad feeling. Examples: /A and. However, I currency means smile. Others include -6, +0 plus. Chinese ideographic style. The character a section, which means bright, is also used in the Chinese computing community for a frowning face. It is also combined with posture emoticon noughts, such as a sectional Z. The character existed in Oracle Bone script, but its use as emoticon was documented as early as January 20, 2005. Other ideographic variants for a section include a registered trademark, a gigapascal, a pound. The character A section, which sounds like the word for plum, is used to represent double of a, or further magnitude of dullness. In Chinese, normally full characters may be duplicated to express emphasis. Posture emoticons, orts is an emoticon representing a kneeling or bowing person, with the O being the head, the R being the arms and part of the body, and the Z being part of the body and the legs. This stick figure represents failure and despair. It is also commonly used for representing a great admiration for someone else's view or action. It was first used in late 2002 at the forum on TeachSide, Japanese personal website. At the TeachSide FAQ forum, a poster asked about a cable cover, typing I 1/4 I-pounder, to show a cable and its cover. Others commented that it looked like a kneeling person, and the symbol became popular. These comments were soon deleted as they were considered off-topic. However, One of the first corresponding reactions can be found on the thread on Teachside Chit-Chat forum at the Wayback Machine, on December 23, 2002. By 2005, Orts spawned a subculture. Blogs have been devoted to the emoticon, and URL shortening services have been named after it. In Taiwan, Orts is associated with the phrase nice guy that is, the concept of males being rejected for a date by girls they are pursuing with a phrase like you are a nice guy. Orts should not be confused with am, which means thank you, or an apology. Multimedia Variations, a portmanteau of emotion and sound. An emotisound is a brief sound transmitted and played back during the viewing of a message, typically an IM message or email message. The sound is intended to communicate an emotional subtext. Many instant messaging clients automatically trigger sound effects in response to specific emoticons. Some services, such as Muse Icons, combine emoticons and music player in an Adobe Flash-based widget. In 2004, the Trillion Chat application introduced a feature called Emotiblips, which allows Trillion users to stream files to their instant message recipient as the voice and video equivalent of an emoticon. In 2007, MTV and Paramount Home Entertainment promoted the Emoticlip as a form of viral marketing for the second season of the show The Hills. The Emoticlips were 12 short snippets of dialogue from the show, uploaded to YouTube, which the advertisers hoped would be distributed between web users as a way of expressing feelings in a similar manner to emoticons. The Emoticlip concept is credited to the Bradley and Montgomery advertising firm, which hopes they would be widely adopted as greeting cards that just happen to be selling something. In 2008, an emotion sequence animation tool, called Fun Icons, was created. The Adobe Flash and Java-based application allows users to create a short animation. Users can then email or save their own animations to use them on similar social utility applications. Emoticons and intellectual property rights. In 2000, Despair, Incorporated obtained a U.S. trademark registration for the frowny emoticon, when used on greeting cards, posters and art prints. In 2001, they issued a satirical press release, announcing that they would sue Internet users who typed the frowny. The joke backfired and the company received a storm of protest when its mock release was posted on technology news website Slashdot. A number of patent applications have been filed on inventions that assist in communicating with emoticons. A few of these have issued as U.S. patents. US 6,987,991 for example, discloses a method developed in 2001 to send emoticons over a cell phone using a drop-down menu. The stated advantage over the prior art was that the user saved on the number of keystrokes, though this may not address the obviousness criteria. In Finland, the Supreme Administrative Court ruled in 2012 that the emoticon cannot be trademarked, thus repealing a 2006 administrative decision trademarking the emoticon and The emoticona was also filed in 2006 and registered in 2008 as a European Community trademark. In 2008, Russian entrepreneur Oleg Tetarin claimed to have been granted the trademark on Thea emoticon. A license would not cost that much, euro tens of thousands of dollars for companies, but would be free of charge for individuals. Unicode. Emoticons are introduced in Unicode Standard version 6.0. It covers Unicode range from 1F600 to 1F64F. See also. References. Further reading, Dressner, Eli, and Herring, Susan C. Functions of the Nonverbal in CMC, Emoticons and Illocutionary Force. Communication Theory 20, 249-268. Preprint, 1, Walther, J.B., and Dagerio, K.P. The Impacts of Emoticons on Message Interpretation in Computer-Mediated Communication. Social Science Computer Review 19, 323 euro 345 doi, 10.1177/089443930101900307 Wolf, Alicia. Emotional Expression Online, Gender Differences in Emoticon Use. Cyber Psychology and Behavior 3, 827 euro 833. External links, September 19, 1982, Can't You Take a Joke? Examples, List of Skype emoticons, List of Yahoo Messenger emoticons, How to insert smileys and other emoticons in Microsoft Office, In Praise of Emoticons, a Euro slideshow by Life magazine, Japanese emoticons, 2-byte Japanese emoticons, article a Euro, a guide to anime emoticons, Western usage of Cormoji, List of Microsoft Office input method editor emoticons,